But how does the relationship we have with our parents affect our or inform the romantic relationships we have?
Oh, it's the blueprint. I always say that to my clients is that
Mm.
the relationships that you have with your parents, they are your first teachers,
Mm-hmm.
and they teach you about what relationships how you will manage relationships going forward based on the relationship they have with you and also the relationship that you view them having with each other.
Mm.
So that helps us to then we then start to, build a framework around that, because that's what's normal to us, because that's our only kind of frame of reference, or just our understanding of relationships. It's through them,
Mm-hmm.
whether it be positive or whether it be negative. We may start to normalize it if that's what we've been marinated in. So
Mm.
there may be some cases where, you have relationships with your parents, and you can see this doesn't feel right. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't. I when I grow up, I don't want to have children and parent my child the way how my mother parented me.
Mm-hmm.
That's a statement I hear quite a lot, and there might have been some aspects I might have said the same, but actually we follow right through, and we do exactly what it is that we say we don't want to do, but we just do it subconsciously. We don't even realize that we're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's when you give yourself the opportunity to examine it,
Mm.
then you start to see, oh my goodness, I'm actually following in the same patterns of what I experienced and what I saw as a child.
Okay. So there's two things that you said that just obviously sparks a thought around how our attachment styles, because I had no idea what an attachment style was back when we were doing therapy. And I never thought about it in my relationships, but I guess attachment styles link from how you were parented when you were really, really young.
Mm-hmm.
Can you share a little bit about attachment styles and how that parental relationship links in? Some people might have never even heard of it, like
Yeah.
I had.
So attachment styles is about how we understand relationships and how we connect with people. I think so, there's something important to mention is that, we when you're a child
Mm-hmm.
and you're growing up and you see your adults as these big formidable characters that you have to look up to, sometimes we place these expectations of them that they are supposed to know everything,
Yep,
right?
been there.
Which makes sense because they brought you into the world,
Mm.
you know. But one of the things that I'll always say is that your parents have only lived this life once,
Mm.
just like us. We've only lived this life once,
Mm.
and we are often born into situations and we are literally just trying to figure it out.
Mm.
And we can sometimes give each other a hard time that you're supposed to know.
Mm-hmm.
But if you've not been taught a different way, how are
Mm.
you supposed to know?
Yeah.
So when a child is growing up in a family where there might be lots of chaos,
Mm-hmm.
so there could be domestic violence, we could have parental mental health, and that is a big thing. There could be people that are displaced from maybe, other extended family members or communities. Parents could have experienced significant trauma. There could be, people could have migrated from other countries, and I
Mm.
think of myself as being a Windrush descendant. My grandparents left their home, left everything behind
Same.
to come
Yeah.
to the UK.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? With no family,
Mm.
to figure it out. So what then happens is when you have these children, as a parent is trying to get to grips with what is this parenting experience going to be like, because babies don't come with a manual.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to build a relationship with this baby and this child, and sometimes we don't have the tools. So
Mm.
attachment styles could be created, such as insecure, avoidant attachment styles, where maybe you weren't given the opportunity to, your parents weren't able to emotionally regulate you, teach you
Mm.
about your emotions. They didn't give you the affection that you needed.
Mm-hmm.
They may have been quite distant from you for various different reasons. They could have been working, or maybe they find, you know, affection, physical or emotional affection. They may find it really uncomfortable because they
They
never
never,
got it. They
yeah.
never experienced it. So it can create that kind of avoidant, you know, attachment style where a child then has to almost figure out, has to kind of learn to emotionally regulate themselves,
And
which means
self-soothe.
self-soothe. So it means that they go into survival mode. So they then think, right, I can't rely on anybody to give me affection, so I'm going to have to just work on it myself. So they create this kind of barricade around them so that they don't get too close to somebody else, because being too close to somebody means that it's not going to be safe, because that's what they experience with their parent,
Wow.
you know? Yeah.
That was some gems right there. I felt like I was reflecting on my childhood. um, so with what you've just explained, I hear a lot of parallels between a man finding a woman that's like his mum, and that women, we chase men that are like our fathers.
Absolutely.
How does that all come into play?
It's because it's what's normalized. It's what's normal for us. If we are used to, you know, a parent where maybe father wasn't around, and you then grow up to then enter into a relationship with somebody, often for girls and for women in particular, if they've not had a positive experience or they've not had much interaction or any interaction with their father, often they are chasing a man who is going to be a father figure to her. And what can happen, it's not all the time, she can place that kind of expectation of fathering. She can place that kind of expectation of fathering expectation on her partner to fill the void that her father should have provided. So then these massive kind of expectations and responsibilities may be given to the man to almost kind of parent this woman, when actually it's not his job, first and foremost, because, you know, this is where we get into talking about the relationship with ourselves. What's our responsibilities in terms of self-soothing, but also what is appropriate to expect from a relationship. There's a difference. But also sometimes when we're chasing men that may be unavailable, emotionally unavailable, like the father that, you know, they had, he may not even have the tools in order to be able to function in a healthy relationship. So as soon as he feels she's starting to be codependent and lean on him and expect and want him to do things for her, he's like, this is too much. I can't do this. So he may pull away.
Wow.
To get a bit of a break. But again, it depends on his attachment type. You know, he may then start to miss her and then he then leans back in, but when it gets too intense, then he pulls back again. So there's this push and pull. So often you find that avoidance may attract maybe an anxious attachment type person. So somebody who wants them, but you know they know that they're not necessarily going to get their needs met, so they continue to chase because that's normal, and maybe that's something that they experienced as a child. Whereas the avoidant, it's okay, when it's too intense, I need to draw back because I can't get too caught up in this, because actually it's not safe, you know. So both parties don't feel safe, but their way of interacting with each other is different, but fundamentally it's the same thing. They don't feel safe, and that's what's playing out.